Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good old dude. Got me a good old case of Dude.
I lost a case of Dude.
Yeah, you sure did.
I did by 1 point because I thought the Titans might go for 2 at that point to cut it to just a field goal and a touchdown, but they didn't do that. I don't know, but I got a lot of issues with the Titans.
Do you? Boy, okay.
Yeah,
well,
but I would like to hear your thoughts on this day, please.
This is a very special day for a lot of special people. Skip, I think a lot of times when we talk about Dr. King, we talk about what he did for blacks. But what Dr. King did for anybody that felt they didn't have a voice or felt that they had been left behind, he spoke for them. He spoke for women. He spoke for anybody that was disenfranchised. And for him to sacrifice, I know he's probably rolling over in his grave because a lot of people that quote him to this very day spoke so negatively against him at the time and when he was doing what he was doing. So I am so honored. I know his daughter, Bernice, we DM a lot, we talk a lot. And what he did for us, America, should not, will not ever be forgotten. And it's a very special day, and I'm honored that we get an opportunity to do what we love and do on this very, very special day.
I echo everything you just said. And I would like to point out for our viewers that our friend Derek Brooks just texted us something from Dr. King that I found very significant, hit me right in the heart. And Derek Brooks obviously is your fellow Hall of Famer. He now presides over NFL suspensions.
Correct.
And he sent us, if you don't mind me reading it, a quote from Dr. King that reads, "Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love." That was Dr. King's mantra. It should all come from a place of love.
Right.
And Derek's 3 words with exclamation points at the bottom of this text were remember, exclamation point, celebrate, exclamation point, act, exclamation point. The NFL did not act in hiring a minority candidate to be a head coach over the last month. And now we have 2 coordinators in the Super Bowl, one on Kansas City's side and then Eric Bieniemy, the other Robert Saleh, defensive coordinator for the 49ers, in the Super Bowl. Both were candidates, neither got hired.
Well, this is what Dr. King fought so hard for.
He did.
We know the fight is not over yet.
It is not over.
it is a special day, beautifully said from both of you guys, and we do have a big Monday show ready for you. Are these guys convinced that Conor McGregor is back, and would Tom Brady be a better fit in San Francisco than Jimmy G? We'll go there, but first, we are going to start with another quarterback going to Miami. Shannon likes this guy, Patrick Mahomes. The Kansas City Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years after beating the Titans 35-24 yesterday. Tennessee's Cinderella playoff run came to an end against the high-powered offense of the Chiefs, who overcame an early deficit with 28 straight points. Patrick Mahomes not only threw for 3 touchdowns, but also scrambled for a score up the sideline on his way to 347 total yards of offense. So, Shannon, how impressive was Mahomes yesterday?
He was great once again. It's virtuoso. And this is why he's the best quarterback. I don't think there's any arguing anymore. There's nothing else to debate. We can't even have a healthy discussion. We can have no argument. We can have no disagreement. 15 for the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football, and it was on full display again yesterday. You know, they fell behind twice by 10 points, but the thing is that he never wavered. The thing that slows them down, Skip, again, is drops. Now, if you notice, if you go back and look at Andy Reid's history, they are a slow starting team in the playoffs. It happened last year in the championship game. It happened again this year in the divisional. It happened again this year in the championship game. Go back to those Philadelphia Eagles, Skip. Those games they have at home, they start slow, never able really to get back into it. But when you got that guy, because if you look at Tennessee, Skip, they're scoring. They're eating up chunks, 9 minutes, touchdown. Mahomes get the ball, 3 minutes, touchdown. They get the ball back, they go back down the field, another 6-7 minute drive. Mahomes get the ball, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, touchdown. That last touchdown right before the half, and I believe once they scored that, they got that lead, Skip. I don't think there was a person in America that actually thought Tennessee was going to win the game after that. minute 47. That's what they're capable of, and that's what that young man is capable of. The last 2 weeks, Skip, he has 4 first downs scrambling against the Texans, 4 first down with his legs against Tennessee. And we didn't see a whole lot of that, but he's very capable of doing that. We getting so in awe, so enamored with his ability to throw the ball with accuracy from different platforms and throwing the football over your head that we forget he's more mobile than you think. And teams are finding out that, Skip, now because you rush 3, you drop everybody in coverage, and the next thing you know, when you realize, you look up, you're like, hold on. He still got the ball. He's running. He's got a first down. And I thought he kept a lot of drives alive last week and this week with his legs, but it's his arm. That's what you're in awe of, Skip, his arm. There have been very, very few people in NFL history that plays the position in which you play a quarterback that can do what he does. There are a lot of guys, Skip, that can throw from a level platform. In the pocket, everything's clean, but his ability to get outside of the pocket, throw off the wrong foot, throw the ball over your head, throw the ball with accuracy is what sets him apart. Now, I told you, Skip Bayless, and I've been on record, Aaron Rodgers is the most gifted thrower of the football that I've ever seen. I'm not so sure when it's all said and done, that young man will not have that title. He's special throwing the football. There's not a throw that he can't make. There's not a distance in which he can throw the ball. And what he has is that very few people have had this, Skip, the weapons, the arsenal. They're young. Tyreek Hill isn't going anywhere. They got him tied up. Travis Kelce isn't going anywhere. Sammy Watkins, and Mecole Hardman is a rookie. The thing that they're going to need, Skip, moving forward is probably a running back, but we'll discuss that another day. Him showing everything. You knew, and I said this, Skip, don't make it a game between Patrick Mahomes and Derrick Henry. Make it a game between Ryan Tannehill and Patrick Mahomes. And that's what they were able to do. Don't make Ryan Tannehill. Make him a worker. Don't let him manage it because he's been managing for 2 weeks. They turned him, had to pull some hours. Jenny had to put a 40-hour work weekend. Couldn't get it done. My homeboys and the Chiefs on and up with Skip Bayless. Now, I want you to say it with me, Skip Bayless. Patrick, my homeboy, is the best quarterback in football. Slowly and surely, go ahead and say it.
I am not going to say
that.
that.
You know he is, though.
The best thrower of the football I've ever seen is Tom Brady, number 1, and Peyton Manning, number 2. I'm sorry, that's what I've seen. They are the best throwers of the football. If you want to do punt, pass, and kick throws, maybe I'll give you Patrick Mahomes. Maybe I'll give you Aaron Rodgers back in the day. Not this Aaron Rodgers, because he's way over the hill. We're talking about him.
Don't do that.
So, I'm going to give you this. Patrick Mahomes was great yesterday. Period, end of... No, not period, end of story, because he had a whole lot of help from the visiting team. He was made a whole lot greater yesterday by the 2 dumbest game plans I think I have ever had to sit and watch for all 4 quarters of a playoff game. And I told you last week, remember the Titans, and this movie was actually called Forget the Titans. I was so disappointed and so dumbfounded by Tennessee's game plans on both sides of the football. It starts with Mike Vrabel, then it goes to Dean Pease. Did you cross over Dean Pease?
I did not.
Okay,
no, he was not there when I was
Baltimore.
Yes.
But he's the defensive coordinator of the Titans. And the young Arthur Smith, who's in his early coordinating days of the Tennessee Titans. All 3 of those guys are at fault here. And to use the old Texas expression, they did not dance with who brung them to the dance. Instead, they had to dance with somebody new because they got panicky and they got desperate, and they just decided to dance with 2 new strategies that I did not see coming. So the old strategy worked because we saw what happened when they went on the road, game number 1 at Cleveland. They used that strategy to embarrass the Browns, basically demolish the Browns' psyches and leave them, quote unquote, for dead, because that was 43-13. Yep. And then they used that same strategy to go on the road to New England and basically end the Patriot dynasty. We're going to talk about Tom Brady's future next, but it's probably not going to be in New England. And then they went to Baltimore and they put to rest, I think, the team we both thought was the best team, certainly through the regular season in football. And they ended the season of a quarterback who's going to be the runaway MVP with a different game plan than I saw yesterday. So This game started with the game right in the palms of the hands of the visiting Tennessee Titans.
Right.
Because it took them only 4 plays to go boom, boom, boom down to 1st and 10 at the 16. Only 4 plays. And I'm thinking, here you go. Because who have we been talking about for 3 weeks on this show? Derrick Henry.
Yep.
Our man, I call him Eric Henry because our man Eric Dickerson says, well, he's the next Eric Dickerson. Mm-hmm. He's not just 6'3", 225 as Eric Dickerson was. Eric thinks he's closer to 6'4.5", 260, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you got 1st and 10 at the 16, and here we go. First play, they go Wildcat, and they just snap it to him. I'm fine with that. And he just pounds it up the middle for 4 yards,
right.
And all of a sudden, here we go with 2nd and 6 at the 12. And what happens? I'm like, what? Well, wait, you're supposed to give it to Derrick Henry. And it's Tannehill overthrowing Corey Davis. I don't even know what the play was. And then 3rd down, it's 3rd and 6, and here he is, and he's under pressure, and he just flings it in the direction of somebody named Tajay Sharpe. I don't know if he's a distant relative of yours.
No, we ain't no kid.
No.
I thought maybe you just snuck him on the roster yesterday so that he could get his one target that went up in smoke. So here's the point. What did our man Troy Aikman say on Fox during the Green Bay-San Francisco game? He said, the 49ers are taking Green Bay's manhood right now. Okay, this was a manhood opportunity right now. Pardon the expression, but you know, it's a macho expression because you have a chance to go completely physical with your 260-pound sledgehammer running back and just hammer away. It's only 2nd and 6. If you let him carry, just hand it to him up the middle. If he gets 4, that's fine. Now it's 3rd and 2. Give it to him again and give it to him again. And if you have to, give it to him 2 more times and just slam it down their throats into the end zone.
Right.
Because that's how you take their quote-unquote manhood. That's how you send a message. This is how we're going to play this football game. And when they were forced, because of 2 Tannehill throws that went nowhere. I don't even know who they were to.
Right.
When they were forced to take the field goal, it felt like, to me, what happened to Bill O'Brien when he opted to take the field goal on 4th down when they were up 21-0 a week ago at Arrowhead. Mm-hmm. I didn't tweet this because I didn't want to jinx it, but my thought was at that moment, they might have just lost this football game right there because they showed Kansas City, we don't really trust 22 like you thought we might trust him. No, we're going to try to feature Ryan Tannehill. And what did you say all week? You gotta, if you can make it Ryan Tannehill versus that guy in his house, you kind of like your chances, right?
I love my chances.
And I told you, I did not like Ryan Tannehill before he was drafted. You can look it up. You can see it on YouTube. I was not impressed. I was not a fan. I've been amazed that he got this far, but as you kept pointing out last week, it's all off play action. Yeah. When you completely establish number 22 and you are fearing you just can't get that big bruiser on the ground, then all of a sudden if he play fakes, somebody's going to be open because they've got some weapons. They don't have Mahomes weapons, but they got some weapons.
Because if you look at his early completions, you look at it, they're bringing the linebackers up, what we call mugging, and putting them in the A-gap, where they should be back there in the area that's vacated, but they're not. And so it's like Brown running across the route.
Somebody is open.
Wide open.
Wide open. And again, maybe they thought that Kansas City's just going to fall deeper and deeper into that trap, but they really didn't fall into that trap. And again, that was going to haunt, taking that field goal was going to haunt the visitors the rest of the way. So they did go up, as you point out, 17-7. That was with 6:29 left in the second quarter. But then something really weird and completely baffling started to happen. The new plan for Dean Pease, who was nothing more than a can of peas yesterday, the new plan was, I think against Mahomes, we should rush 3. What? You should rush 3. What are you doing?
You can't give him that kind of time.
And for much of the rest of the game, they sometimes rush 4, but they often just rush 3.
Right.
And I'm thinking, what is that? Where did this come from? Do you think you're fooling him? Do you think he's saying, oh my God, there are too many people covering? And for a number of these plays, they actually would spy Rashaan Evans.
They would.
Okay, and I'm like, Patrick Mahomes is good, but he's not Lamar Jackson.
Right.
So why don't you just rush Rashaan? Just
right.
And again, remember, this is Mike Vrabel chip off the block of Bill Belichick, who has revolutionized defensive game plans for the last 10, 12, 15 years, where everybody in the league especially chips off his block. They come in with complex, creative, clever pressure schemes. You don't even have to call them blitz schemes, but you're sending different people from different places, different ways, until the quarterback is just baffled and he doesn't know where the next hit is going to come from, and he's off balance and he loses his way.
Especially if you don't have the ability to run the football. They can't run the football a little.
Okay, with Damian Williams. Okay, so Mahomes was their leading rusher.
For the last 2 weeks.
Okay, so that brings me to, I'm just horrified by what I'm seeing, but they're hanging in, and then we get down to 23 seconds left in the half, and Tennessee is still clinging to a lead. So now it gets to be 2nd and 10 at the Tennessee 27, and could we see this play, the Mahomes run play, please?
Oh, boy!
Okay, look what's happening. They rush 3. And one rusher, Landry, he just rushes completely outside. Rashawn Gary takes a terrible angle and misses him.
That's that LeBron no look. That's that LeBron no look.
And look at Tremaine Brock. What are you doing? What are you doing?
He's trying to get the ball.
Trying to get the ball. Okay, so I guess the Titans thought on that play, he's just going to run out of bounds and stop the clock. But he didn't run out of bounds, and he just kept sort of chugging along the sidelines because they'd only rushed 3, and now nobody seems to know it's a scramble drill. Nobody seems to know. Scramble drill usually means you should uncover as an offensive receiver, but this is like everybody decided.
You see that move?
It looks good every time.
That's LeBron James. When he get ready to shoot that 3, he'll look away and then hit it quick on you.
Really?
You see, he looked away on it.
The 34%.
I fell for it.
3-point.
Don't do this, kid. Watch this.
Wait.
Rashawn.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
Okay.
Ooh.
Rashawn Gary, what are you doing?
Don't know.
So it all started with a 3-man rush, and Landry just rushes completely upfield past him, like he runs 10 yards past.
You gotta stay even.
Patrick
You can't run past
You
it.
can't do that.
No.
What are you doing? So the flank is completely uncovered, and usually with the 3-man rushes, a lot of times all 3 would just get caught in the middle like they were pinned up. Because Kansas City's offensive line, especially as pass blockers, they can really pass block. And I'm saying, wow, you're just stymied. Your 3 guys are all stuck, and Rashawn Gary is not fast enough to be a spy, because usually you spy with somebody who can run a little bit.
Well, he should be able to catch Mahomes.
Well, Mahomes ran 4.8 at the combine. 4.8.
Rashawn Gary ran faster than 4.8, I can assure you.
Okay, well, but he didn't look like he was game speed running that fast. And I guess Mahomes looked a little faster than 4.8. But Mahomes is looking, to my eye, bigger and bigger. And I don't have any problem with that, because you need to be able to absorb the punishment. But he looks like, you think he's 220? He's looking closer to
240.
He's 240.
Yeah.
And he moves fine, but he's not, let's just be clear about this, we're not talking about Lamar here.
No.
There's no real quickness. There's no real da-da-da to it, right? There's no make you miss.
He ain't got no fast twitch.
Okay, he's got no fast twitch. And so then we get to the second half, and in the first drive, this was the first time all day I saw this. Can we see the play? This is Kansas City's got the ball, 2nd and 10 at the 20. I'm sorry, I've got the wrong one. It's 11-17 less than the third quarter, and it's 2nd and 10 now in this series. And if you could see this.
They brought the pressure.
They brought the pressure. That's the first time all day. And look what Mahomes had to do. He had to throw it quick.
Skip.
Okay, why didn't I see that like 20 times in the game?
But they got the perfect call on. If you remember, that's the same blitz that the Texans brought that they threw the touchdown to Damian Williams.
Okay.
All 34 has to do is look. That's what Mahomes like. Are you going to look?
Okay.
Do you see the blitz coming?
But they did disrupt the timing of the route. And every once in a while, are you playing not to lose, or are you going for the throat? Which way?
You got to attack him.
Okay, then there was another later one when the game is still kind of dangling, barely. And this is a 3rd and 9 play at the Tennessee 39 with 2:20 left in the game. And they did it again. Look at this. They sent a corner after him, and he just had to throw it away. I just showed you 2 examples of what Tennessee should have been doing constantly. Now, if you get burned, fine. You go to the next series.
I think he was afraid of that, Skip, because that's what he was doing. If you notice Coach Belichick, he's like, look, guys, we'll make him nickel and diamonds. They really instituted this because of Peyton Manning, because they would drop 8 in coverage, Skip, and say, look, we're not giving you home runs over the top.
Okay, but everybody knew Peyton couldn't hurt you at all with his legs, the way Brady cannot hurt you with his legs.
And the thing was, Skip, if you rush 3, if you run up the field and you create lanes, he's just going to step into one of those lanes. And you don't have enough guys back in coverage because guys will uncover. But the biggest thing would happen, Skip, if you talked about Derrick Henry, in the first half, Skip, he had 16 carries. In the second half, he only had 3. But here's where the difference was.
3 carries for 7 yards in the second half.
On second and third down, he had 5 yesterday. Against Baltimore, he had 16 on second and third down. Against New England, he had 16. So what that was telling me, Skip Bayless, is that they were not in second and manageable, third and manageable. They were in second and long. So it took Derrick Henry out of it and put the ball slowly in Ryan Tannehill's hand. That's what you wanted. I want to make it mano a mano. Ryan Tannehill, you against Patrick Mahomes. And they were able to get to him early. They did a great job of attacking Derrick Henry. They're like, look, and that's why those windows were vacated, Skip, is that they attacked him early, they made him cut back, and there was someone there to meet him. But I wasn't concerned about Ryan Tannehill. If Ryan Tannehill throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and you lose the game, you just shake his hand. But I'm not letting Derrick Henry go for 150, 180, because I know what he can do.
Well,
2
by the
teams
way,
at home.
In the first half, Derrick Henry went 16 times for 62 yards.
Yes.
Do the math on that. So if you give him 32 carries for 124, I'm going to give Tennessee a shot in that game because you're going to be able to control the clock a little bit better. But that means that on some second downs, after he just went for a yard or 2 on first down, you're going to have to give it to him again. Have the guts, have the courage of your convictions just to say, I'll give it to you one more time.
And that was really, Skip, that was really the first time that they had fallen behind late in the ball game. Because if you remember in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter of the previous games, they had the lead. So they played the game on their terms. They dictated when they wanted to run the football, when they wanted to throw. I think they felt that this game was starting to slowly slip away, Skip, because even when Kansas City got the ball out of the half, it was a drop that stopped it. They didn't stop them. And I think Vrabel started to see it's not that we're stopping them. They're dropping passes and stopping themselves. So we got to try something differently because this game is slipping away. And I thought he put too much trust in Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill had an unbelievable season, but he had that kind of season because Derrick Henry looked like a Mack truck on an empty highway because that's what was happening. And now they shut him down, and Tannehill didn't do well with the football.
So in the 36 games, Derrick Henry has had 12 or more carries. This was the lowest yards per carry he's had ever in his career. It was 1.4 a carry. I congratulate Steve Spagnuolo, the new coordinator, and everybody who played on defense for their commitment to getting that big guy on the ground. I always call him the moose who runs like a deer. They got a hold of him and got him down with gang tackling. Okay, they're about to face a different challenge because the little guy for San Francisco is about half of Derrick Henry's size. Little Mostert, Raheem Mostert. He goes 5'11", 180. So think of that. Wouldn't he look about up next to Derrick Henry? Wouldn't he look like half of him?
He would.
Okay.
But forget Frank Clark. Frank Clark says he's not that big. He's big. He should run heavier. But the thing is, this is why you trade those first-round picks for Frank Clark because he showed yesterday. This is why you go out and get a Tyrann Mathieu.
You know what?
Tackles.
I didn't love it for their sake that he talked before the game the way he did. But he backed it up, or at least he wrote a big check that his teammates had to cash.
That's the thing. If you write that check, you better have some teammates that can back it up.
And they did.
They cashed him out.
They did. Oh, that's a good one.
Skip, go ahead and say it with me.
50 years for that team.
You're going solo on this.
He's not the best quarterback in the NFL right now. He's not the best quarterback.
He was yesterday.
No.
Thanks to the Titans.
No mercy. The 49ers powered their way to the Super Bowl with a 37-20 victory that wasn't even that close. Jimmy Garoppolo only had to throw the ball 8 times as running back Raheem Mostert led San Francisco with 220 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. The Packers offense never really got into a rhythm as the Niners defense forced Aaron Rodgers into 1 lost fumble and 2 picks, including a late one to Richard Sherman that secured the trip to Miami. So Shannon, I start with you. How impressive were the 49ers?
This was very impressive. Skip, you know I blocked for TD Terrell Davis, and we could run the football. But this right here, I mean, the dude is going untouched. The first touchdown, no one touched him. There was a couple of touchdowns, someone touched him on his arm. This is unbelievable. The 49ers and the Tennessee Titans, both of them want to run the football. One of them running the football, Derrick Henry lines up in the I formation, Skip. They hand it to him or they toss it to him. Kyle Shanahan is going to give you 18 different looks. And all of them's going to end up with somebody having to run. It might be Deebo Samuels running the ball. It might be Mostert. It might be Brady. It might be Emmanuel Sanders.
Yep.
But somebody's going to get the ball. And it's so much misdirection. They tell you the fullback will take you where the ball is, where they put Juszczyk in short motion. And the next thing you know, Skip, he motions to the right. He's coming back left, and they're pulling a tackle. So they already overloaded that side because they anticipate the ball coming that way. Now they're coming back with a sweep with Deebo. Now they're coming back with Mostert. I told ED was sitting on here, I said, now one of these two teams,
Eric
Dickerson.
Yeah.
I said, one of these two teams, either Tennessee or 49ers, gonna get 40-plus carries. Well, they had 39 with 3 kneel downs, so they got to 42.
They did.
Skip, this is unbelievable. Skip, look, having played 14 years, and you'd rather have a guy throw for 600 yards and have what happened to them yesterday.
I agree.
Because when you run the football, they said Troy said he's taking the manhood. You're moving a man against his will.
You are.
Huh.
It ain't no trickery. It ain't no trickeration. We running the football.
Play after play after play.
They like.
So it's worse.
They beg it. They like, Jimmy, please throw the ball. They put 9 guys. We dare you to throw it, Jimmy. Nope, I ain't throwing it. Because you know why I'm not going to throw it? Because you can't stop us running it. I'm looking at one time, dude is averaging 11 yards a clip in the NFL. That's college stuff. That's college when a top-flight team playing an FCS team, Skip. Yeah. That's not supposed to happen in the NFL with these are pros.
Not.
176. And you was talking about last year with the Rams. I don't know if the Rams made it look like this. What the 49ers did to the Packers yesterday, Skip.
This was worse.
Yeah.
I agree. And I thought that was bad, what the Rams did to the Cowboys.
Yes, this was unbelievable. And 285 yards on 7 yards a carry. And the Packers were really never in this ball game. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers a little later, Skip, but those are empty calories. Those numbers, because you look at his numbers, you go like, man, he was 30, 31 or 39 for yada, yada, yada. No, but it didn't mean nothing because he never got within 2 scores. And for the most part, he was fighting an uphill battle. But the 49ers, they got, and it was like, it's really hard to beat a team twice. That's a lie. When you're the superior team, it's very easy. Skip, Green Bay can play the 49ers 10 more times over the next 3 months, and they might win a game. But I would say it's going to probably be 10 for 10.
I would agree.
The 49ers are just a better team, period. And what we thought, Green Bay's defense, they're so much better. That was pathetic. Skip, that was awful. You can't put that on tape. In the biggest game, you're one step away from getting to the Super Bowl, and you let a team run for almost 300 on you?
Yep.
And the quarterback we're talking about Tannehill. Tannehill had 14 attempts. Garoppolo had 8 attempts.
8.
This ain't 1950 before they really instituted the forward pass game.
That's how it felt.
This is the 21st century. We 2020. And in a championship game.
Think about this. Emmanuel Sanders got 1 target and no catches. Think about this. You love Kittle. You're a Hall of Fame tight end. He got 1 target and caught 1 ball.
That's it. Because the other team couldn't stop the run.
Yep.
And the 49ers, Skip, like I said, Kyle Shanahan is the best diagrammer, is the best play caller going right now in the NFL. There are a lot of guys that might, Sean Payton has won a Super Bowl and all the Josh McDaniels, but Kyle is where it's at right now, Skip. This was an unbelievable performance. I thought it would be very similar because the Packers is going to be different this time. What? Did the Packers get new players from the last time they played? Did the 49ers get worse players? Because if that didn't transpire, the exact same outcome was going to happen, and that's what you got, the exact same outcome. But it was worse this time around. You said the last time Aaron Rodgers, he was worse. It was worse. The beatdown, it was 23-0 the first time. It was 27-0, and it was over from that point.
It really was.
He had a slightly better QBR this time.
He got 16.
Did he?
He had a 22, right? 22 overall.
It was 22. I thought it was like 16.
Okay, I think it was 22, but the first time it was 9.
Yeah.
But to your point, whole lot of empty calories in the second half. And he did make a couple of good throws in the second half, but it was way too little, way too late.
Yeah.
So all season long, I sat over here saying, how's Green Bay doing this? I don't get it. I kept telling you, Green Bay is the flip side of my Cowboys because my Cowboys somehow, you say, how did they lose that game? And with Green Bay, I kept saying, how did they win that game?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they won that game. And it came all the way around to yesterday, and they got exposed for the frauds they were all year. They were frauds, and they were actually 14-3 frauds coming into this game. 14-3 is pretty great. I don't know if you can fraud your way to 14-3, but they did. And Aaron Rodgers said after the game yesterday that he felt like he couldn't explain how they'd gotten that far, so he started feeling like the last few days, it's just meant to be. We're going to go win this game because we can't explain how we got here.
It's going to continue.
So you won't be able to explain how we got to the Super Bowl. Well, it didn't work that way. Because I think deep down in their heart of hearts and in the backs of their minds, that 37-8 just destroyed their psyches. And we went back and forth last week, you and I, about, remember, Kyle Shannon said, you have to forget, it's irrelevant what happened in the 37-8 destruction game. And I said, well, it's not irrelevant in the Green Bay psyche because they know they got destroyed. And yesterday they came out like, we can't do this. And I was texting back and forth with our friend Lil Wayne this morning because he's just devastated. Sorry about that, Wayne.
Well, how's he doing?
But the point was he agreed with me. In the end, the 49ers were just better than the Packers. But to Wayne's point, they weren't that much better because the defense just didn't want to tackle anybody for at least a half. They did a little better in the second half.
Skip, I can see if it's Henry, though. Skip, I can see you don't want to tackle a 6'4", 260-pound man, but these guys are built for speed. If you look at the way they built Coleman, I went out with the shoulder injury.
He did right away.
But Skip, they might not have a back that's maybe Coleman is 200 pounds, but these guys are built for speed. But guess what? You ever know anything? Did anybody know who TD was? Anybody know who Mike Anderson or Reuben Drones? These no-name guys that come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you're like, he did that. Why did nobody want him?
The stories, it's impressive.
So what a story is Raheem Mostert, because he's 5'11", 180 pounds. Think about 180.
That's thin.
5'11".
And at Purdue, he didn't even play running back till he was a junior because he's a gadget guy. He's a return specialist because he is a track man.
You could tell the way he runs.
He won some Big Ten hurdles and sprint championships. So he can fly. And yet this is his 7th NFL team. So 6 teams said no to him. And he said he keeps a list of all of his cut dates. Before every game, he looks at all of his cut dates. Philly said that he wasn't drafted, but they had him and said no. Miami said no. Baltimore said no. Cleveland said no. The Jets said no. And Chicago said no to Raheem Mostert, who finally fell into Kyle Shanahan heaven. Because he was made for this. It's that outside zone. You know, let him get outside where you're just zone blocking. And you're blowing people off the football.
You get one cut. Bobby Turner, who's the running back coach, was there with Mike Shanahan. He came with Mike in '95. And everywhere Kyle has been, Bobby has gone with him. He's the best running back coach in football. Skip, when you got that kind of speed, you say, son, look, put your right foot in the dirt and put your left foot in your dirt and come downhill. Skip, you see him going through the line? He doesn't even accelerate. He's like, I'm gone. He's running so it doesn't look like he's running. They said he had 9 runs. I'm looking at it like 9 runs of 15+ miles an hour. Do you know, as a running back, to generate that kind of speed that quickly? So he hits a crease, it's over.
And he doesn't look that pretty of a runner. It doesn't look like he's flying.
But he's like
flying.
He was gliding.
He was. No, I agree. In the first half, he gets 160 on 14 carries. That's outrageous. That's the most yards in a playoff game. I saw this morning. You have to go back to the 1963 AFL championship game. And it was Keith Lincoln. This is way before your time, but I do remember him for the Chargers. That's correct. And that's the last time anybody got 160 or more in the first half. What? Well, you're blown out, man. It's 27-0.
You're demoralized, Skip, because they're like running the ball. At least give you like, okay, we were in position. We just should have got to knock that play down. How do you not be, if a team's running the ball like this, how do you say we got to get in better position? They're just lining up. And the thing is, Skip, the Deebo Samuels, I mean, because you're going one way, you're like, okay, here they come this way. And the next thing you know, he popped the ball up to Deebo, and Deebo's going the other way. And Deebo, he gets the ball, he's a running back. He ain't looking to juke you. He's running people over. So now they might pull Deebo Samuels and Juszczyk and Mostert, and you got 2 guys out there. He hits a crease. It's a touchdown. Skip, the way Kyle is calling this, well, if you're not going to make – sure. Kyle learned his lesson from that Super Bowl, Skip. You're never going to have to say Kyle Shanahan should run the football more.
That's true.
True. You will never,
That's
ever.
a good point.
You will never,
He
ever.
showed you in the second half yesterday, I'm just not going to throw it.
I'm not going to throw it.
Well, like what Terry asked in post-game, he's
Yeah.
like, you ran all over them. Well, it was working.
Yeah.
Why
It was
stop? Why would
working.
you stop? What's
Why
working
would
so
you
well?
stop?
Exactly.
Good point. Tevin Coleman could be a big loss because it looked like he really hurt his shoulder.
Yeah, it looked
They
like he
didn't
did.
say last night.
Right.
But again, this kid is running so hot right now, and Breida is still there. And like you say, you can get other people involved in the run game. I just think Kansas City, who finished 26th against the rush, is going to have a hard time. But could we hark back to Aaron Rodgers on opening Thursday night? Do you remember against the Bears what they did? Because they did play defense that night. And after the game, Aaron was, it was an NBC interview.
Yeah.
Do you remember what he said? If we could see that, please.
There were some offensive struggles running it this first time. So when you watch the film back, what are you going to be looking for?
Well, that defense is going to give a lot of teams struggles. They're a very talented team. I had a couple real bad throws. We're off, out of sync at times, but we got a defense. We kept saying in the huddle, like, hey, let's pick our defense up. Let's just get one drive together. And we backed up. We finally put together a drive, got a field goal out of it, but it didn't matter. I mean, those guys, Mike Pettin and his staff, unbelievable job. It's fun to watch.
We got a defense.
I lied. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
Well, at several key moments through the year, they did have a defense when they really needed a defense.
Yeah.
But that was Mitchell Trubisky.
Yes, that's
right?
Chicago Bears offense.
Right.
That's not Cal. Skip, because you remember last year when Jimmy G tore his knee, he was winning games and C.J. Beathard was throwing for 300 yards. You're like, how's he doing this with these guys? So you know if he had a decent quarterback, what he's capable of doing if he can do that with guys that really should not be playing. So, yes, they had a deep. But Skip, I was, and I told you, I was like, I like them because, but when I see them go on the road, they struggle against teams. They did come out here to the Chargers and got the doors blown off them. And Phillip Rivers is just, you talk about a slot machine and turning the ball over. He will literally give you the ball. He'll pay you to take it off his hands.
So back to our point of contention all year, I still say Aaron is in decline.
You're not.
He had another rough game yesterday, and to your point, he made a couple of good throws in the second half, but if we could, like the early intercept, the one in the second quarter, that's just not the Aaron Rodgers we used to know and occasionally love. This is just so bad. It's so behind the receiver. It's such a bad idea. And the game was still kind of hanging in the balance there, and that's just like where the Packers say, ugh.
Even if you don't get points, you just can't allow the 49ers to get any
They
more
went
points.
right down and scored the other way.
Right, so now, exactly.
And remember, Aaron had 3 fumbles yesterday, and he lost only one of them, if we could just see them in order.
Right.
But again, this is not clean Aaron Rodgers that we used to trust. Okay, so he gets stripped on that one, and actually they got it back. Here's the strip again. This is not the guy who's as confident in the pocket, getting rid of the football as we used to see. That was just the fumble snap, and they lost that one. And then we have another strip sack.
Yeah.
And we have another recovery by the Green Bay Packers, but another one. And then he missed the two, we don't need to see it, but the 2-point conversion pass that could have made it kind of interesting. Right. He just threw it completely behind Devontae.
But Skip, we talked about his defense. His defenses hadn't been very good. This is the 5th time his defense has given up at least 37 points in a playoff game, tied with the most ever for Dan Marino. On average, his defense allowed 27 points per game, which is the most in NFL history. In his 8 losses, his defense is allowing 36 points per game, which is the most in playoff history. Nobody's overcoming that. Not Patrick Mahomes, because we saw what happened last year when his defense gave up 34. They lost. I mean, they gave up 36 because, 37. What, 36? 37.
Which one, at New England?
In the playoff game because they scored in overtime. Skip, the likelihood of you overcoming your team giving up on average in 8 losses, 36 points is not very good. Aaron Rodgers would have had to been 2011 Aaron Rodgers, the 45-6 where he was basically unbeatable.
All I know is he now is 1-3 in NFC Championship games, and the one came when Jay Cutler was on the bicycle the second half, and he barely overcame Caleb Haney. Yeah. So I don't know what
you want him to do with Skip. Think about it. His defenses is giving up on average 27 points a game, and in the losses, 36. Now, can remember that I know a guy that when his defense gave up 41, he caught an L.
Yeah, and he put up 33.
Oh,
you mean the guy who threw for a playoff record 505 yards, Tom Brady?
But my point is that when your defense consists, remember he gave up there's another game he gave up 51 against Arizona. Yeah. It's hard for you to overcome this. It's hard for overcoming. Did Aaron play great? No, those are empty calories. He had a Dak Prescott game. That's a Dak Prescott. They call it a Prescott.
You're just going to throw that in there?
They call it a Prescottian.
That is not overcalling it.
That's what they call it, a Prescottian.
Because Dak had 463 against Green Bay.
You're just going to throw it in
called an L. And the same thing, Aaron was 31 of 39, but at one point in time, he was down what, Skip? 27-0. At one point in time, Dak Prescott was down what, Skip? 31-3. So they call it a Prescottian. It's when you throw for a bunch of yards and it don't mean a thing.
No mercy. The Super Bowl 54 matchup is officially set. And according to Fox Bet, the Chiefs are 1.5-point favorites against the 49ers. It's a classic strength versus strength matchup with Patrick Mahomes' offense facing off against the Niners' tough defense. So, Shannon, which way are you leaning so far?
I'm leaning.
Where are you going?
Chiefs. My homeboy.
Okay.
Because I trust my homeboy. I trust him. I got the utmost confidence in him because if you can do what he did yesterday, Skip, it was 17 at the time of kickoff. They say the wind chill put it down to 5, and he's spinning the ball like that. Can you imagine on a nice, brisk February night in Miami, it's going to probably be 75, 80 degrees, what he can do?
It might be too different, actually.
Look, think about it. 2 weeks, 8 touchdown passes, 1 rush, 0 interception. Very careful with the football, even though he throws it like it. So we ain't got no problem, Skip. Some teams like, well, we want to run it. We throw it. Mahomes, throw it 50, throw it 60 times. What concerns me about them, Skip, is that they don't have a back that can run time off the clock. And if you saw yesterday when they got up to the big lead, they really had to throw the ball, swing passes, a lot of, stuff like that to try to take the air out of the game. But the 49ers are for real. Of all the things that concern me, 49ers are very talented. The things that concern me the most, Skip, Chiefs defense. They make too many bonehead plays that get you beat. You jump off sides 4 times and give people first downs, you get beat. You go illegal hands to the face, 15 yards, you get beat. It's 3rd and 22. I just need to know, Breland, why the hell are you playing bump coverage?
You're playing grab coverage, right?
Skip, it's situational football. If they throw the ball and complete a 10-yard or 12-yard pass, so what? They still got 4th and 10. The only thing that can give them a first down, you gave them a first down on a 7-yard route because you were holding. They make dumb plays. Dumb play, the bigger the game, dumb plays get you beat. Now, I thought they would look D Ford lining up off sides. I thought they had gotten out of that, Skip. I thought jumping off sides last year, they learned their lesson. But
D Ford's now 49.
Clearly they didn't. So that's the thing that concerns me most is the mistakes that the defense, because if I'm not mistaken, Skip, all the penalties came from the defense side of the football. You get beat. You play that like that in a game of this magnitude, the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So now you're sort of wavering. You're on the fence a little bit.
I'm going to tell you what I'm going to be shocked by. If this game is not in the mid-70s, it might be the highest scoring game ever. I can see a situation, Skip, this is a 45-38, a 45-42 ball game, because both of these offenses are explosive.
So you won 2 Super Bowls playing for a coach named Shanahan.
Yeah.
His name was Mike Shanahan. Am I right about that?
Very.
Mike Shanahan is now the de facto head coach, the unofficial head coach of the 49ers.
He helps out a lot.
You could say he's the assistant head coach if you want to go that far. But game plans, he is contributing heavily to. His son is a chip off that old block because he might even have taken it up a notch in creativity, cleverness, guts, how you finesse teams, and then how you overpower teams. Because one thing I know about this matchup, the 49ers are the more physical football team.
Absolutely.
They just
absolutely,
are.
yeah.
Andy Reid has never had what I would call a physical football team. I thought their defense played pretty physically yesterday,
Right.
but I still wouldn't consider it a physical defense.
No.
The 49ers will get after you in both trenches. I think they're a little better in both trenches. That's just me, because their offensive line, nobody talks about it. It just steamrolls people. It blows people off the ball with almost what looks like rage to me, where they just delight in it after a while, and they are knocking people 4 and 5 yards off the football.
And what that does, Skip, because they can run the ball so well, it slows down the pass rush. Because you're not finna be running up the field and there's a lane and there's Mostert going for 20 yards. That's what slows them down. Green Bay, the Smith was neutralized. The Smith boys were neutralized because they're trying to catch and try to shed somebody to make a tackle. How can I get up the field when I got a tight end or fullback or offensive lineman in my chest, and here come Mostert running downhill? That's what makes them so good in all areas, because they can run it so well. Defensive linemen can't just pin their ears back and say, okay, we're going to get the quarterback, like the 49ers started doing yesterday once they realized the Packers had gotten down and they weren't going to run the football. All of a sudden, Bosa, Armstead, those guys started to eat.
Okay, so to your point, let's see, Patrick Mahomes or Jimmy Garoppolo? Mahomes, Garoppolo. I think I'll go Mahomes.
I think so.
But I'm still leaning 49ers because of all the other factors in the football game. If it degenerates to those two going at it, throw for throw, you're going to win this game. If the 49ers can play 49er football, and if they can put the heat on Patrick Mahomes that Tennessee failed to put on because they the idiotic 3-man rushes. But this is a 4-man rush offense, sometimes 5, but it's 4, and they are a really good 4.
Yeah.
They can often get home with 4.
Yes.
They harassed and finally just befuddled Aaron Rodgers yesterday because he's not sure where the next guy's coming from. And I don't think Aaron has the stomach to step into a lot of throws into that kind of pass rush. So Mahomes is going to get bothered early in this game and often in this game in ways he was not bothered by the Tennessee Titans. So if you got that on your side, and then you've got that zone, outside zone running game where you're just here and there and here and there, and you can pound it and control the clock and basically keep Jimmy G out of the game, I think you got a chance. Now, Jimmy G's still got a big arm. He's sort of like Ryan Tannehill.
He can make throws.
He can make some throws. He's going to have to make a few more than he did yesterday.
And the thing was, Skip, if you remember late in the ball game, even though they were running the ball to take more time off the clock, Jimmy G had to throw some passes. He completed one to George Kittle.
That was a huge one. That was his best throw of the game, or biggest throw of the game.
So, he's going to have to make some throws. But the thing is, you don't because they haven't come into a play this playoffs, Emmanuel Sanders and Deebo Samuels and those guys can still make plays now. Don't underestimate them, because they've been the one thing that you must do, Skip. If you play in the West Coast offense and you play receiver, you got to block. They're the best blocking receivers in all of football. Now, I remember times when I was playing for Kyle's father, Mike, that Mike didn't think the receivers were physical enough in the run game. And we go 9-on-7. Now, you know what 9-on-7 is. There is no threat or no pass. Mike says, okay, you didn't want to block on Sunday. I'm going to see if you're going to block today. Because there's no threat of the pass, and you're going to have to dig the safeties out. You're going to have to block those corners. So you look at Emmanuel Sanders, you look at Deebo Samuels, you look at the Samuels, you look at those receivers. Anytime you run the football for 200-plus yards, your receivers are getting after people.
So what did Kittle say on ESPN last night after the game about Emmanuel Sanders? He got 1 target, caught no balls in the game. This is Emmanuel Sanders.
Yes.
How many? There'd be games in Denver where he'd catch, I don't know, 10, 12.
112. He went for over 100 against the Patriots in the championship game.
Okay, got it. Kittle said that Emmanuel was back in the locker room crowing about all the good blocks he had made.
Yes.
Because it has been instilled in those receivers, they cannot be diva receivers.
No.
We don't have Odell going here. We don't have Odell versus Jarvis here for who gets the most targets and balls. We got who threw the best blocks.
That says a lot.
And Kittle is, again.
I watched him yesterday. He did a number on the Smith boys.
He did.
Skip, he did a number. Listen. He's the best complete tight end in football. He's the most complete tight end in football. He might be the most complete tight end. He might even be a better blocker than Gronk, Skip. If you watch him, his hand placement, the way he steps and set that edge, listen, you talk to us. That wasn't my cup of tea. You know, I did a couple of times a game, did it? But I was trying to get out like a scout on a new route.
When it was time to block, you were drinking a cup of tea.
Yeah, you know
right?
what I'm saying? That wasn't my cup of tea. They normally put me on backside. Yeah. They let Dwayne Carswell House, we call him. You handle that stuff front side. Okay. I got the back over here. Come see me a little later in the fourth quarter.
But you were big play Shay. Yeah. You had to make that one big play.
You watch, if this is clinic, this is textbook. The way he steps and the way he sets and gets his hands inside and turns that shoulder and drives upfield, it's a thing of beauty. Kittle is for real.
Well, I wasn't sure Raheem Mostert was for real because he led this team in special teams tackles also.
Yeah, he's a gunner.
He's a gunner.
Yes.
He's a special teams player. But he also led this team in rushing, not by a lot, but by some.
Right.
And yesterday, he really led it in rushing because he got 29 carries, and I didn't think a 180-pounder could hold up with that's a lot of
carries.
A lot of carries. He's a sore young man.
For a second there, I thought our good friend OED, he started like, because you say, I'm not worried about Henry getting 248. It wasn't Henry you should have been worried about. It was Mostert.
It was Mostert.
But that first player with 220 and 4 touchdowns. That is the first with the 4 touchdowns.
And I think he and Eric are now the only two to go 220 plus in a playoff game.
Right.
I think so.
Yeah.
But he got 4 touchdowns on top of his.
Those numbers.
Eric's numbers came against my Dallas Cowboys.
I know you haven't forgotten.
But
I was there.
But guess what, Skip? West Coast offense against West Coast offense.
Yep.
Because that's where Andy cut his teeth. He runs that. Kyle Shanahan runs the West Coast. It's going to be a thing of beauty.
Hey,
I'm going to be shocked.
This is a fascinating matchup. Again, what's our spread now? Point and a half?
1.5.
What's the over-under? I bet you the over-under at least 60.
I think it was around high 50s.
It's got to be, because they know it's coming. It's coming, Skip.
Well, would you believe there's never been a Super Bowl spread that ended at pick'em, like at game time it was pick'em? I think this one might have a shot. Might have a shot.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So 25 years for San Francisco since they've won, 50 for the Chiefs. I mean, these fan bases, it's going to be wild in Miami. I'm looking forward to it.
It is a fascinating matchup.
It really is.
Yep.
It really is. No mercy. And how about this last weekend? Conor McGregor's return to the octagon couldn't have gone any better for the Irishman on Saturday. McGregor took care of Cowboy Cerrone with a TKO in just 40 seconds, thanks mainly to a brutal head kick. Just days after sounding surprisingly humble at a press conference, we got the brash Conor after the fight when talking about his potential next opponent, offering that, quote, any one of these fools can get it. It does not matter. Shannon, how much stock do you put in this win?
I didn't get a lot out of it, Skip, but I don't want to take anything away from Conor because he had a long layoff and he stopped the guy. But I think everybody can admit this. Cowboy Cerrone probably fought 1.5 years, 2 years too long. Skip, that was his 50th fight.
Yep.
In that sport?
And he'd lost his last 2.
By stoppage.
Okay.
Boxers fight 50 times. I mean, the old boxers, Skip, they'd have 100 fights with another 150 amateur. But not in this sport, Skip. You don't see guys in this brutal combat sport with this many. I think Johnny Jones only has less than 25 total fights. Habib, guys Skip, you don't fight this long in this sport with that many fights. And what did he say? Everybody said, Cowboy, you should take him to the ground. That's where your advantage is. No, I want to see if I can take a punch. Skip, let's just say for the sake of argument, I'm an alligator wrangler. I ain't fighting him in the water. Hell, he has the advantage. I feel if I get him on the ground and I can get him to his back, I got a great chance. Why are you trying to fight a man at his strength in his house?
Well, I don't think he had time to even get into his strategy.
Yeah.
Well, he did. He shot out of it like a bat out of hell. He came He came straight across the ring. He's like, whoa, wait a minute.
We started.
And then think about this. They're in the clinch, and Conor hits him with the little Duval, the little shoulder. It blooded his nose. Come on, Skip, really? Now, when you ever seen somebody in the clinch and get shoulder and it blooded their nose? So
I have never, ever seen that.
Really?
He didn't just bloody his nose.
Yes.
He busted it.
Yes.
He was a little bit out on his feet at that moment.
Yeah, and I'm
with
like,
a shoulder?
I'm like, come on, Cowboy. So, look, I think this is a better weight for Conor. Because Conor probably walks around, Skip. I mean, he's not a big man. I say he walks around at 180? So to get down to 170 is not much. You talking about 180?
Conor or Cowboy?
Conor. Conor. I say Conor looks better at this weight, at 170.
At the weight class.
I don't think he walks around at 180.
How much you think he walks around at?
Maybe less?
Maybe 170. Maybe.
Yeah.
You think?
It looked to me like Cowboy outweighed him by maybe 20.
Well, Cowboy probably walks around at a lot heavier weight. But my point is, Skip, is that him dropping 5-10 pounds as opposed to dropping 25-35,
I agree.
Going down to 155. Skip, I don't care what you look. Floyd Mayweather is easy to cut weight because Floyd is not a naturally big man. Floyd probably is 155. So to go down to 147 and fight, or fight at 154, that's nothing for him. But
I think Floyd walks around at 155.
Yeah, I think so too.
Even after 2 big burgers.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem to bother him.
So to fight at 154 and a half or to fight at 147, that's nothing for him.
Yep.
But so I don't want to take anything away from Conor. He did what he had to do. But I want to see him now. He does this with Masvidal. Go get that BMF belt for Masvidal. Go fight Usman. Now we gonna talk. Yeah, Skip, look, he don't want none of that Russian bear. Leave that Russian bear alone. Leave Habib alone, because Habib ain't gonna fight you at your. Now Habib did stand up with him and take some blows, traded some blows, but he gonna shoot him and take him down so quick he gonna be up in like, what happened? Am I dreaming of this suspended animation? Because that's how quick his feet gonna be up in the air and he gonna be on the mat.
I disagree with your final takeaway, and I will be the first to disqualify myself. I love Conor McGregor. He is the best entertainer in sports.
Yeah. He's good for business.
He's even beyond LeBron. LeBron is always wildly entertaining. Every game has a new subplot, a new sort of drama to it.
Right.
But with Conor, it's just riveting to watch him even enter the ring because you're not sure what you're going to get. So I'm going to buy his excuse that he made for the Khabib fight, that he fell into the clutches of, as he called it, that liquid that he markets, proper 12, right? Proper number 12. And he said, too much of that, and it's going to ruin and wreck your training.
Right.
And he claimed that he's backed off the bottle. I don't know if that's true or not. I think he didn't back off after the match on Saturday night.
And he also said, what did he do? He read what LeBron spends $1.5 million in his training. He says, I'm
going to give you this. He looked so much fitter than he looked before Khabib.
Okay.
Because remember, he was coming off making approximately $100 million boxing Floyd.
It'll do that.
And I thought he did pretty well. He hung in for 10 rounds against Floyd. But $100 million will make you not want to go get your face beat in with no gloves on.
Let make you not want to get out of bed. Let me get $100 million and see.
You'd still be out of bed at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, man, Skip, you put that pressure on me, Skip. You put a lot of pressure on me.
I don't know. Hanging on an
So
island
I'm going to put about 75% stock in what I saw because I told you on Friday, or even really on Thursday, after the press conference on Wednesday, I was a little concerned because Conor was so respectful at the press conference. I thought, well, have you lost your stomach for this?
Right.
Are you trying to butter him up so he won't make it hard on you? Although, after watching the press conference, I should have known that a man nicknamed Cowboy would be a big disappointment in this fight, right?
Hell yeah.
Because they were,
the Cowboy. Boy, it didn't take long for the Cowboys to get up out of there, huh?
Yep. You know how those 8-8 Cowboys, and Cowboy fought like he was about 8-8, right?
Yep, that didn't help.
I just had to throw that in there.
I like
but the point is that Conor looked locked in from the start. He came out and threw a big left that just barely missed.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to give him some credit for not just using the front of the shoulder because it's padded with some skin.
Yeah.
But the top of the shoulder's got a big old bone across it, right? And he caught Cowboy right in the nose with the back, with the bone. He got him, and the bone will work.
Yeah.
If you can catch him right in his bony nose, it will burst. And he burst it, and then as Jenny pointed out, he caught him flush with a head kick, and then he caught him flush with the left. And that was the end of that story in 40 seconds.
Say what you want to say about Conor. But he did go 12 rounds with Floyd Mayweather.
He did.
I mean, 10 rounds with Floyd, 10 rounds with Floyd Mayweather. That's to be commended.
Yep.
Now, you can say, well, Floyd was 100 years old. I don't care. Floyd Mayweather is still a professional boxer, and he still had skills, even at the age that he fought Conor at. So why would anybody in that sport, unless you got those kind of boxing skills, want to stand and fight him at what he's good at? Take him to the ground, because, Skip, when you take him to the ground, you look at it when he struggled, he's gotten taken to the ground.
Okay, so I got you. But I tweeted immediately after this quote-unquote fight ended that I don't want to see Masvidal.
Why you don't want to see the BMF?
I don't want to see it. I want him to take another shot at Khabib, and I'll tell you why. I wasn't sure he could get Nate Diaz the second time because I thought Nate was just too big for him, and Nate got him on the ground in their first bout.
Right.
Remember that? But in fact, Ernestine and I attended the second one in Las Vegas, and it was a battle. But Conor stayed on his feet the whole fight.
Right.
I believe this time Conor would be far more respectful of Khabib before the fight because he just instilled rage in him because he took on Khabib for his heritage, his wife, his culture, his religion. Can I go on? I mean, I don't. You name it, you can check all the boxes. And Khabib wanted to literally kill him, and he almost did kill him when he got him in a headlock. He choked him out.
Yeah, the ref had to hit him a couple of times to get him to turn loose.
Get him to stop. That is correct. And I thought Conor was in big, literal life trouble, right? I don't believe that would happen the second time. And to Dana White's point, this would be the pay-per-view bonanza of all time. Right. This could top any of the big boxing pay-per-views, right? Yeah. This could top Mayweather-Pacquiao in pay-per-view.
I don't know if he get that money. It probably do what 2 million, 2.5. You think he can do 2.5?
I don't know. I think it might top it just because of the fact that Khabib nearly killed him the first time. And again, it would depend on the pre-fight build-up, how they handled it. Would there still be any lingering?
But see, I like Masvidal because Masvidal gonna talk that talk.
Oh no,
he gonna talk right there with Conor. Say,
I got it.
He said he already told him.
The problem with Khabib is he's already scheduled April 18th to fight Tony Ferguson. Right. So I don't know how long would we have to wait for this one.
Wait, at bare minimum 3 to 4 months, Skip.
Yep. Well, I would rather see this happen sooner. I don't know if Dana can undo a fight that he's already inked. I don't know.
I don't know if Khabib, you think he would take it, though?
Who?
Khabib. But like he said he's dead to me.
You've got to earn it. Yeah. You know, like you've got to earn it back. And I don't know. If you wrote a check for Khabib.
Yeah, I know.
Said,
it's all.
Yeah, he go, now see, here's the thing. He's going to want Conor McGregor money. Well, you can't give two people Conor.
Well, as Floyd kept saying, I'm the A side. Right. Well, Khabib could say, I'm the A side. He's not the A side. I'm sorry.
No.
But you could go 60-40 money in that 40 if this is going to be the all-time smash pay-per-view.
Wow.
That 40% of that is going to look pretty big.
I just love Masvidal. He talked that talk.
No, I do too. I do too.
Talk, Jetty. He about that action, boss.
Yeah.
He about that.
I mean, the press conference could be better than the fight.
Just thinking about the press
conference. Yes, I only want forget the fight. I just want to watch stream the press conference. Charge him for that. Pay-per-view the press conference. That's all I want to see.
Maybe we should get Masvidal on when we go to the Super Bowl. He's Mr. Miami.
Yeah, that'll be.
Make it happen. Let's stir the pot.
Because I already know you want to put them paws on Conor.
I did like that he was back to his original self at the post-fight press conference.
He was.
He was back.
He was great.
You're right about the entertainment.
Because
factor.
the uncertainty.
Can't look away from
you got to realize the last couple of times he's been in the ring, it didn't go very well, be it the box or the octagon. So there's some uncertainty. I don't care how confident you are. You take them L's, it shakes your confidence.
No, I got it. And the one bout we did not deal with is the possibility that before Khabib comes back around, it could be Floyd and Conor boxing.
Oh,
again.
gee.
You never know.
It could.
Come on,
you never
Skip.
know.
Well, it could.
Man, Floyd about to be 43.
That's all Conor talked about after this fight was, I still want Floyd again.
Because he knows. Okay, let's just say for the sake of argument, they do 60-40 split. A 60-40 split with Floyd versus a 60-40 with Khabib, you talk about $100 million difference, Skip. Yeah. He knows if he fight Floyd again, that's $150 million.
Well,
I don't know. Would people buy it the way they did the first time?
Because you know why? You going to buy it because you want Conor to win.
I do.
There's going to be another million, 1.5 million for that very reason.
And he was making his case after this fight Saturday night saying, I learned a lot and I know what I did wrong.
No mercy. The Kansas City Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl for the first time in 50 years after beating the Titans 35-24 yesterday. Tennessee's Cinderella playoff run, well, it came to an end against the high-powered offense of the Chiefs, who overcame an early deficit with 28 straight points. Patrick Mahomes not only threw for 3 touchdowns, but also scrambled for a score up the sideline on his way to 347 total yards of offense. And we're now joined by former All-Pro cornerback Antonio Cromartie. Good to have you back with us.
Glad to be back.
This is the right time to come back to the show, right definitely. When things get interesting. Antonio, how impressive was Patrick Mahomes to you?
very impressive. And when you just look at him over the last, not this game, the last 2 games, I mean, he's thrown 8 touchdowns and ran for 1. That's a total of 9 touchdowns. You know, and when you look at what they're done, they have a slow start. They go from not playing a good game in the first, not playing a great first quarter, then all of a sudden the next 3 quarters, watch out. He's getting hot. No matter what the weather may be, no matter what's going on, he's dropping dimes on everybody. Not only that, but when you look at the touchdown run that he ran yesterday, they didn't want to tackle him.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you go.
They didn't want to tackle him.
Maybe his agent.
Might be.
They didn't want to tackle him. And it's just a point of, like, if Sorensen hit Tannehill like he did, I mean, like he did, and you know what I'm saying, the Titans did the same thing,
sure,
he wouldn't have scored. But it would have set a tone for that team also, but there's no stopping the Chiefs right now. I don't care who you put in front of them.
Even the 49ers?
Even the 49ers right now.
Really? So you think they got the big advantage over 49ers?
When you come from the quarterback, the speed on the outside, those 3 receivers and special teams, it's something to mess with now. You got to think about that. It's not just him.
What concerns me, well, we'll talk about him talk about this a little later. Skip, he was special, and he's always been special. And I've been trying to tell you for the better part of 2 years, he's the best quarterback in football.
Not because just you, the whole world.
Yeah, everybody knows that, Skip. You know, he's the best. There have been a lot of quarterbacks that can spin the ball from a level plane in the pocket. But now remember, he threw this ball over 50 yards to Sammy Watkins on the move. There are very few guys that can throw the ball that far, can throw the ball with that kind of accuracy. You see one of his first completions where he's rolling to his right and he throws the ball about 25 yards and it doesn't get higher than head high and he throws this to Tyreek Hill. The throws that he can make, left, right, that's what makes Aaron Rodgers special, because Aaron Rodgers, we know he can throw the ball from the pocket. But his ability to throw the ball outside of the pocket and throw it with accuracy and can throw the ball over your head. Well, Patrick Mahomes is that. And I said this before, Aaron Rodgers is the greatest thrower of the football I've ever seen, and I was in the era with Dan Marino. When it's all said and done, it's going to be hard for someone to say Patrick Mahomes is not the greatest thrower of the football that we've ever seen. Because, Skip, what he can do. And now you factor in his legs, because this is not what, look, we has some athleticism, Skip, but he's been that leading rusher the last 2 games, over 50 yards both times, and huge. 4 first downs last game, 4 first downs this time. So now this is something teams moving forward is going to have to factor in. As with Brady, I'm not worried about Brady. I was never worried about Peyton. I was never worried about Eli going anywhere. The Statue of Liberty has moved more than those 3 guys, and it's been there, this rightful spot for over 250 years. So, but Mahomes is on a different level, Skip. And once he get going, the thing that's why they keep getting off to these slow starts, they drop everything. I'm like, dude, just catch the ball. It's not. But what you're dealing with is that Kelsey and all these guys, they're a big play. And you know this, Crow. When guys are big play, they're just trying to get the hand and get the head right as quick as possible to try to face you up, to try to find somewhere to go. And then I've never seen a guy score or get a completion without catching the ball. So that's the most important thing. But that was old virtuoso. Yeah, that was a virtuoso.
You got to think about it. The touchdown that didn't even count. The one he threw to Kelsey in the back of the end zone. Yeah. You see that throw? Did you see that throw? I mean, it was just like...
It was out of bounds.
It was
out of bounds.
We could have... They should have...
It was just a flick of the wrist.
He was like 3 feet out of bounds.
He got 1 foot. He got 1 foot.
Come on. Have mercy.
You didn't think that Sammy Watkins was a catch either, did you?
Which Sammy Watkins?
The one he threw to Sammy Watkins.
The 60-yarder?
No. The one he had the challenge on the sideline that Andy ended up having the challenge.
He scraped his right.
Yeah.
I give it to you.
Get no credit.
I would like to talk about what was not special about that game yesterday, and that was Tennessee's game plans on both offense and defense, because I've never seen dumber co-game plans in any playoff game I have had to stomach and watch for 4 long quarters, because he gave me 10 points in this game. I lost by 11 because Tennessee decided not to go for 2 when they scored to cut it to 35-24. They could have gone for 2 there, but no, they didn't. So you escaped by 1 point. You still owe me 37 cases.
Wow.
You got the one.
You got to count it out.
I was dumbfounded and disgusted by whatever got into Mike Vrabel, number one, and Dean Canopies, the defensive coordinator, and Arthur Just Another Smith, the new offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, because they did not, to use the Texas expression, dance with who brung them. The formula by which they went to Cleveland on opening day and just destroyed the Browns 43-13, that formula that they took to New England and ended the dynasty a few weeks back in a playoff game, and then the formula they took to Baltimore and stopped the best team in football, quarterback by the best quarterback, the runaway MVP, Lamar Jackson, obviously, in football. That formula somehow didn't make it. I don't know, maybe they didn't pack it. I don't know what happened. It didn't make it to Kansas City, because the first thing that happened was they go bing, 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 4 plays, and they get it 1st and 10 down at the 16-yard line of the home team. And the home team does always start a little bit slow on both sides of the ball. And on 1st and 10, they go wildcat and just snap it to Derrick Henry, because there's no real, they're not going to fool anybody. They're just going to give it to that big moose who runs like a deer. And he rams it up the middle for 4 yards. And then what happened? I'm waiting for 22. I need to see 22 again. And instead, the quarterback on 2nd down drops back and throws it to nobody. To nobody. I don't know. He almost threw it to the corner. I don't know what happened. And then on 3rd down, here we go again, and it's 3rd and 6. Do you think Ryan Tannehill is going to complete 3rd and 6? Because he's not very good. You have to keep the game out of his hands, in 22's hands. Derrick Henry was... He has to be the driving force, and if you just hand it to him like 5 or 6 straight times, you do what Troy Aikman said that the 49ers did to Green Bay. During the game, Troy said they have taken away Green Bay's manhood, and that was a manhood sequence right there where you had them on the psychological ropes, where you could just punish them right into the end zone, push them right into the end zone, and they're going to say, God, we can't tackle this guy. It's happening all over again.
I mean, you hate, Skip, you hate. This is not the time that we experiment to show everybody that Ryan Tannehill is a quarterback and he can throw the football.
Stop it.
We'll do that another day in time.
Okay, and then...
But you got to think about this, though. I think it was the second touchdown they scored. It went on a 9-minute drive.
Yes.
It kept the ball away.
Yes.
That was the whole objective of the game, to keep the ball away. They got out of that.
Like
so the game plan changed.
What was your stat?
It totally changed.
Derrick Henry had 3 carries for 7 yards.
3 carries.
Yes.
Really? But in the first half, he had 16 for 62. That'll work. If you double that to 32 for 124, you got a shot.
But you can throw the clock.
But in order for that game plan that you wanted to see and what we've seen the previous 2 weeks, they got to have the lead. Once Mahomes scored that touchdown right before the half, Skip, you can feel the momentum totally.
Okay, I got it.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so what did I start seeing at 17-7? I saw the, pardon my language, damnedest game plan I've ever seen used against Patrick Mahomes. And he was special yesterday. He was great yesterday. They start rushing 3, sometimes 4, but usually 3. And I'm saying, what do? They're spying Rashaan Evans, who's not very fast to start with. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is exactly a blazer.
He's not a blazer.
He's not a blazer.
He ran 4.8 3 years ago. He ain't running 4.8 right now.
Okay, because he looks like he's about 240 to me. But the point is, if you just rush 3 and he gets to dance around back there and find something, it's a track team. What do they call it? The Legion of Zoom. You know, it is the Legion of Zoom.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to get open if you rush 3.
Sammy Watkins, your slowest receiver.
Hey, and Sammy had a big day yesterday because he was the guy who was getting the worst coverage.
That was his first touchdown since week 1 against Jacksonville when he had 3 in the game. But Skip, Dean Pease was saying, look, okay, we got a 17-7 lead. The one thing, nothing cheap, nothing deep. Well, I don't want Tyreek to get over because I know, Skip, they got 3 guys that can get over your head in the blink of an eye. Yeah. So we're gonna play soft coverage. We're gonna make you nickel and dime your way down the field. Well, if you let them get a 24-yard completion and a 15-yard completion, next thing you know, well, they're there.
Just remember, Patrick Mahomes is going to win every punt, pass, and kick contest. He's going to win it. He's too good.
There's no
if
such
you let
thing
him
as
stand back there and just sort of freelance, I think I'll try this throw. Yeah. You know, you're not going to stop it.
Definitely.
Lightning is going to strike you again and again and again, and you're going to be okay.
Anytime a guy like that, I'm a firm believer. You got to make him make a decision quick. If you let him pat the ball, you're not going to beat him. Okay. You're not.
But you got to think about this. You saying if you make a guy like that make a decision quick, what he got on the outside that nobody's going to cover?
Because what they do, if you notice, They put Tyreek in the slot.
Yes.
Well, it's hard to skip. It's hard to double him from the slot, and it's hard to get a bump on him on the slot. So he eats up that cushion. You see how fast he went around the dude on that touchdown?
Did I?
Okay, so what do we see at the end of 2007? I saw Tom Brady light up the NFL the way I'd never seen anybody light it up with Randy Moss.
Right.
And then what happened in the Super Bowl? The Giants rushed 4, and they got to him.
Yes.
And they kept him under wraps the whole game, and he made it 14-10 with 2 minutes left, but then Eli went down and made it 17-14. Okay, so what I'm saying is the only way to stop Patrick Mahomes, you have to put some heat on him.
You do, but here's the thing, Skip.
It's still scary.
But Spagnuolo knew Tom Brady isn't going anywhere. Now, you rush 4, and you mess around and let one of those in run past him, and he can step through a lane. Now, he can step up and throw it over your head, or what he's shown you yesterday, he can run and get you 10 to 20 yards.
I'm going to put quotes around run, but that's okay.
Okay, waddle.
That's me. I didn't even think twice about it. Now I'm questioning it. Jeez, he got it done.
He broke 3 tackles.
He stated.
Quote unquote tackle.
Hey,
Come on, Skip.
they looking for him to run out of bounds.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
That's what I
slide.
mean, yeah.
And he's like, nope.
He came close.
Oh, you don't want to tackle him? Okay, I'll keep going then.
I'll just
It's the rule.
The 49ers powered their way to the Super Bowl with a 37-20 victory that wasn't even that close. Jimmy Garoppolo only had to throw the ball 8 times as running back Raheem Mostert led San Francisco with 220 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. The Packers offense never got into a rhythm as the Niners defense forced Aaron Rodgers into 1 lost fumble and 2 picks, including a late one to Richard Sherman that secured the trip to Miami. So, Antonio, how impressive were the 49ers, in your opinion?
Very impressive. I'll tell you that. And the reason I say that is because, well, you're playing against one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and Aaron Rodgers, that made him look like a rookie. That's honest to God true. And they didn't even have to apply pressure by rushing 5 or 6. They did just with the front 4. Got hits on them. I think they turned the ball over 5 times. But only, I think San Fran recovered 4 of the turnovers. So when you able to do that, and you can go out there and put pressure on a guy to make him make mistakes, can't get on his spot, it's hard. I mean, you got to think too. Who is he throwing to? They can't get open. There was nobody getting open. No matter what you did with Devontae Adams, he wasn't there. He wasn't there.
He got going in the second half.
Yeah, but it's too late.
Yep.
You were already down. It was 17-0 in the first quarter.
27-0 at the half.
You can't do nothing. It's a wash. You don't have the weapons that Patrick Mahomes has to try to get back into to this game. It's not gonna happen. And that Mike Pettin defense, that was supposed to be a great run defense, gave up 160 yards on 14 carries, 3 touchdowns in the first half.
In the first half.
Finished with 220 and 4 touchdowns. They didn't want to hit nobody yesterday. That's what you saw. They weren't getting off blocks. They weren't shedding blocks. They weren't doing none of that yesterday. Not what you've seen in the previous weeks of what Green Bay Packers defense was doing. They just went out there and laid an egg.
Okay, so in the previous topic that we did, you made a strong case that Kansas City is going to have a big edge in the Super Bowl, but yet you just said 49ers can get there with 4. So what if Mahomes starts getting some heat that he hasn't gotten of late?
Okay, but you got to think about this. If Mahomes can move too, just like Aaron Rodgers can, but his weapons are better than Aaron Rodgers. Those guys can separate. You saw once he stepped in the pocket, he can find Kels going across the middle. He can find Tyreek Hill going across. He has the weapons, better weapons than Aaron Rodgers has, and more speed than anybody in the NFL on them outside receivers. So if you make one mistake, as you saw with the Sammy Watkins touchdown, if you make one mistake, he's able to step up in the pocket. It's touchdown. You can't come back from that.
Yeah. They were very impressive, and this is what Kyle Shanahan wanted to do. They wanted to run the football, Skip.
Yeah.
You try to minimize Jimmy Garoppolo putting the ball in harm's way. Skip, he gave an opportunity, but they didn't come down with it. Now, he normally puts the ball, and Kyle knows this also, he normally puts the ball in harm's way 2 to 3 times. Well, I ain't going to let you do it because there ain't no way you're going to put the ball in harm's way. He did it one time in 8 attempts, and they didn't come down with it. It's their fault. But when you can run the football like this, it's disheartening. Your defense start to lose hope because no matter what they bring 8 guys, they bring 9 guys, and we still can't stop this guy from getting a first down every time he touches the football. This is the NFL. A guy should not average 10 yards a rush in the NFL. Now, if it's Alabama playing some FCS school or a Power 5 playing a lower level school, Skip, I get that. Because the talent level is just, the disparity is just so great. But this shouldn't happen at this level. And it happened. They ran the football for almost 300 yards. To move, the greatest thing you can do in the NFL, Crow, and you know this, is to move a man against his will. That joker line put his hand in the dirt. He's like, I'm going that way. And they said, no, you're not. You're going that way. And they roll your butt up out of there. Come on, get out the block, son.
Yeah.
You see the DB, come on, they clapping. Preston Smith called him on the sideline. I ain't got nothing.
Ain't got nothing for you.
Got nothing for you today, Skip. 300 yards with 8 pass attempts.
But you know what else impressed me, though? I think when the way Kyle Shanahan is using Debo Samuels, like, he reminds me a lot of what Minnesota used to do with Percy Harvin.
Interesting.
You know, when you look at that, it's like,
But I mean,
he's
twice Percy Harvin. Seriously.
Yeah.
But
Debo's a bad
He's
man.
a bad boy. I tell you that.
He run hard. He run.
Hey, Debo coming.
Well, how did he get his nickname?
And you see him.
Yes.
When he ain't dodging nobody. He ain't trying to run out of bounds.
No.
He's dropping his shoulder and like running over people.
That's some fury he's running with now. To me, the 49ers were even more impressive than Kansas City was, because they just dismantled everything about Green Bay.
Yeah.
They dismantled the defense. They dismantled the quarterback. It was just destruction from jump, where their offensive line was blowing Green Bay off the ball. I'm looking at lanes that are like semi-truck lanes.
Most of them
right?
not getting touch on a 30-yard TD run. That's unheard of.
What? And that was a third
couple
down
times.
run.
Yes.
Well, what are you doing? And Mostert's half the size of Derrick Henry. He's
Yeah.
5'11", 180 pounds.
Right.
Former sprinter in college at Purdue, who didn't even play running back until his junior year. Bounced around the NFL because he was a gadget back and a return man who played mostly special teams.
Right.
He led this team in special teams tackles, and he led it in rushing. And he's a good kid. He's not a kid anymore. He's 27. But he bounced for 6 different teams, cut him, and he just fell into Kyle Shanahan heaven.
Right.
Because this is what, you know this better than anybody, this is what the Shanahans do. It's just zone block, outside zone, where you get him loose off the edge. And when he gets loose, what did you do with Terrell Davis, who was a bigger man than this, but he took games over. He took playoff games over.
Yeah.
And the truth was, Mike took the great John Elway out of a lot of game plans where he wasn't throwing a lot of balls.
Well, when you go on the road skipping the playoff football, it's about minimizing the mistakes, taking the crowd noise out of it. And if you can run the football and what we could, and Derrick Henry was trying to do what TD done. 3 straight games of at least 150 yards. So that lets you know how we ran the football, that TD is the only guy in NFL history.
What did Terrell Davis weigh? 225?
No. Maybe
Okay.
205, 210.
Okay, so he's that right. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe 25 more
Yeah.
pounds. I couldn't believe that Mostert stood up to 29 carries. That's a lot of punishment, you think, except he wasn't taking a lot of punishment.
He wasn't taking no punishment.
Well, the first 17 carries was no punishment. He might have took some the last 12 when they know he was going to get the ball, Skip, because if you think about it, they came out the first time they got the ball, because Green Bay got the ball to start the second half, they go down and score. The 49ers get the ball, and they go right back down the field and score, and they run the ball every single time.
Boom. That was it. Game over.
Yes. You know they ain't putting nobody in no shotgun. They ain't dropping back the pass. They just hand it off or they pitch it to Debo. And Green Bay's like, so now you can't get pressure on the quarterback. So even when Jimmy G did drop back the pass, you can't get any pressure, Skip, because they so used to catching the guys. A tight end is in your chest or offensive lineman is in your chest. You can't pass block when you're 2 yards back.
So what if I told you Friday, speaking of Debo, what if I told you Friday that Emmanuel Sanders would get 1 target and catch no balls, and Kittle would get 1 target and catch 1 ball in this game? What would you have told me? They're in trouble?
Yeah.
No, I would have known they were in trouble because I told you Kyle Shannon was going to run the ball 40 times. Skip, Green Bay got no players that were better from the last time they played. 49ers didn't get worse. So I'm trying to figure out a scenario, Skip, that the game was going to be different. I didn't see a situation where the game was going to be different because Green Bay didn't add anybody and the 49ers didn't lose anybody.
Yep. Well, usually they throw a three-headed monster at you and they keep them fresh. So it's Tevin Coleman and it's Breida and then it's Mostert.
So just imagine.
And again, Tevin Coleman banged up his shoulder. It looked not good.
Yeah, look,
looked like he might be gone.
Yeah.
Might be. I'm knocking on wood for him.
But Skip, that's the knock on him is that
he's
a thin guy.
I know.
But he's injury prone.
Okay. So again, I thought it's going to be Breida and Raheem back and forth, and Kyle said, I'm going with the hot hand.
Yeah.
And he gave it to him 29 times.
I mean, think about it. This has been a lot of playoff games, and the dude got the second most rush yards in playoff history behind ED 248.
Unbelievable. I like the story you shared, how he keeps a list of every team that's cut him.
He's got the cut dates, every cut date that he got cut.
Skip, he's an unconventional back. So, in other words, he's not a power back. You look for guys a little bit more sturdier. So, with him, you put him in the zone running scheme where you don't need power. You just need to be able to, put your foot in the dirt and come down here.
Hit the crease.
That's it. Whew. That's it.
That's all. This is
going to be a matchup, man.
It is.
It's going to be a good one.
Because remember, 49ers are extremely physical. I don't think Kansas City is a physical football team. They're more finesse. They'll throw it and beat you with their track.
You better reroute those receivers.
Yep.
You let those receivers come off the line scot-free, and you're in trouble. Because he can throw it. He can throw it 60 yards. He can throw the ball over your head, and Tyreek can run catch it.
What was the road runner? Beep, beep.
Yep.
And you got Miko Hardman.
Yeah.
But Skip, if you remember, go back to Kansas City, they started with some bull jive too. You're not an RPO team. All that little stuff they were trying to do with Mahomes, and everybody said, okay, my bad. Let me go back. Mahomes, drop back and throw the ball.
That's it.
Strength
Especially when they're rushing three.
No mercy. Guys, Super Bowl Sunday, make sure you are watching before kickoff for a pregame show you will not want to miss. This lineup, Demi Lovato, DJ Khaled, Yolanda Adams, Dan and Shay, and Pitbull. And that is all before kickoff. Don't miss the Fox Super Bowl pregame show. But Richard Sherman is on his way there, but had a little drama yesterday. He's heading back to the Super Bowl for the third time in his career. But you know what? There's at least one person out there who is not impressed. Well, Revis took a shot at Sherman on social media, calling him out for playing zone instead of traveling with the best receiver all game. Sherman clapped back, saying Revis didn't play as well as him year 9, and told the former All-Pro to, quote, enjoy the view from your couch. And there's some history, Skip, I know, with the two of you guys. So I would like to start with you, Skip, on this one. Whose side are you on here?
I am on Darrelle Revis' side, as I was from the start when I found myself right in the middle of this beef at the outset, which was shortly after the 2012 season. I want to remind everybody, at that point, Richard was taking shots at everybody. Tom Brady, Roddy White, A.J. Green. And the point was that this is in March of 2013. Richard asked at that point to come on First Take with me and Stephen A. Smith.
Right.
And his point through his rep to us was that he had taken on so many people via Twitter and publicly that he didn't want to do that anymore. He just wanted to talk some off-season football. And I said, okay, we'll just open up talking about football. We were on an abbreviated show that was on regular ESPN that day in the afternoon. And I thought it was going to be fairly tame, except Richard was a little late and he wasn't quite mic'd up as the interview was supposed to start. So they asked me to sort of vamp for a moment while he got hooked up. Well, he'd been going back and forth already with Darrelle Revis. And what had happened was that Richard, just for the backstory, actually started all this when in a Twitter Q&A, he was asked to rank his top 5 cornerbacks, and he didn't put Revis in his top 5. This is right after the 2012 season, early 2013. And you were close with Darrelle because you were his teammate for many years with the Jets. And the point was, Richard took a shot by saying, well, he didn't even play last year, so I'm not going to put him in the top 5. And Revis fired back on Twitter, this is back then, this dude just steady putting my name in his mouth to get notoriety, which was the truth. And then Richard fired back on Twitter at Darrelle, this is before the First Take, just before the First Take show, your name will be irrelevant once you step back on the field. I'm living off performance. You're living off reputation. So that was hot, but we had decided on first take not to do that. But as I vamped, I made the point that I know they've been going back and forth, and that right now, to me, Revis is the better corner because he's been doing it for 6 years and made 4 Pro Bowls, and Richard had only been doing it for 2. And I said, not yet. You're not yet the better cornerback than Darrell. I mean, it's Darrell Revis. It was Revis Island. You were in the middle of all that. So Richard, I assume, heard this as he was getting mic'd up. And when Kerry Champion asked the first just sort of, non-controversial question, he just exploded all over me. He got very personal about it, said he's better at life than I am. And I'm like, what do you know about my life? Because I didn't know him, he didn't know me. But the point was that I began to argue back at him exactly what happened last night. I said, you can't consider yourself better than Darrell Revis because he travels, and you never travel. And nobody had really picked up on this yet, but I said, you do not follow the other team's best receiver. You don't take the ultimate challenge game after game like Darrell does, and you know that he did take that challenge. So the point is that I finished my argument with him by saying, you are backed up by the 2 best safeties in pro football. You're a zone corner with Cam Chancellor behind you and that Earl behind you, because those 2 guys, is there anybody better than those 2 at that point? That was the early part of Legion of Boom, right?
Yes.
So the point was that Revis couldn't help himself last night, and he had to drive it back. Remember, Richard started this back after the 2012 season, and when Revis saw him give up the bomb last night to Devontae, and I don't know who was supposed to be back. Somebody was supposed to have some deep help there. And I don't know how Richard wound up man-to-man on him because it looked man-to-man when he's a zone corner. But then Richard got even late in the game and basically ended the game with some double coverage, and he got behind the receiver and caught the interception that ended the game.
Well, Sherman tried to jump the under route. That's what Sherman tried. He was trying to get a cheap pick late in the ball game. That's what happens.
All right. Well, he did. Okay, I got it. So, again, I'm going to hang with Darrell on this just because I have so much respect for him, and I've had many arguments with Darrell about, is he better than Deion? No, he's not better than Deion. But he's better than Richard Sherman because Richard has always been nothing but the zone corner.
The way I look at it like this.
Go ahead.
I'm on Sherman's side for this. Now, I do believe that Revis at his height was better than Sherman at his best. But Revis has been retired for 3 years. Yeah. What are you talking about now? You sitting around waiting for the man to give up. Now, forget the guy is going to the Pro Bowl in year 9. He's playing at a very high level. Now, we do remember, Revis, your last year, bro, you stole. There's no other way around it. You was bull-jiving out there. You stole their money. And they say, you know what? We're not going to let you steal anymore. We're going to give you $6 million to go away. So they bought out the last year and they said, just go away because he was. But Skip, back then, this is now. Revis is, Sherman's still playing at a high level, and I think that bothers him. I think that bothers Revis because he's still playing at a high level. I don't know if he loved the game, but I don't know if he put the preparation in as far as physically training because as he started to get older, now Revis never had that statuesque body. And the one thing that you can't do as you become an athlete, Skip, is you start to get old, if you don't stay in shape, that thing goes down in a hurry.
Little Crow knows this. Darrell didn't keep his body the way he should keep it.
No, I'll say the last couple of years, no. But the biggest thing, this is what I want everybody to get to. So, me and Sherm, I've gone back and forth with Sherm too.
Yeah. About
the whole not traveling thing. You're a zone corner. But you got to think, at the end of the day, it's about scheme. The scheme is not asking him to go travel. To go to this receiver or go to the receiver. The scheme is not asking him to always play man-to-man. The scheme, he's doing exactly what he's being coached to do. And I think everybody need to realize that we don't have to sit here and argue, who's the best corner. Who cares anymore? If the man is out there doing his job every single day, week in and week out, that's all that should matter. Like, me and Sherman have had a sit-down conversation. I just like, you know what? I get what you're saying now. You don't have to travel.
So
you're doing. I travel, but that was what was asked of me.
Right.
Like, at the end of the day, me and Revis, it was either one a week I had the number 1 receiver, Revis had number 2. He had number 1, and I had number 2. That's what was asked of us in that defense. They're not asking Sherman to do that. They're asking him to play his zone, do what you're supposed to do. When we call the man-to-man, play it to your best.
Wait a second. I am shocked you have turned on your man.
I'm not turning.
Revis.
I'm not turning on anybody. Look, I've been retired for almost 3 years now. It's just time to play. It's time to let it go and really look at football. It's not a.
Maybe you sit down. It sounds like Sherman won you over.
Nah, ain't nobody win me over. Because Revis still my boy. He did what he did. He went out and he played at the highest level. No, you can't take that away. The 2009 season, one of the best seasons a defensive back could ever have as a defensive back. Nobody's not gonna match that. Revis is to me like Shannon said. You put the years and year together. Revis is still the best corner. I just don't think talking about who's travel, who's doing this. It doesn't matter anymore.
But the thing with me with Revis, he's talking like Sherman's a fourth corner. Like, bro, you a nickelback. You're just coming on the field, and he's not that. Look.
Okay, but I think you both would agree. It's much harder to travel than a play zone corner.
Yes, it is.
Trust me, it is. It's the toughest thing you could do because you're not only traveling in man, you're traveling in zone too.
Right.
And we're going to do
you playing left, right, you
play
the
nickel,
slot.
Yes. You're going to do all that stuff. But
you have to stand in the middle of the field, wait until they break the huddle and say, he's going there, I'm going to go there.
But
that's what it's asked of us, though.
That's what he's doing.
Because
that's what we're doing.
You're capable.
It's also what Rex Ryan
I'm not
defense.
sure Richard is capable of doing that.
I believe he would if they'd ask him. Because you got to realize when he started, he had Brandon Browner on one side. Brandon was a very physical corner, and then he had Brett McField, who once he got out of Seattle, we saw what happened when he went to Philadelphia. He wasn't the same. But Skip, you could only in a defensive scheme, you could only do what's asked of you. If they don't ask you to rush the passer, well, his sack total is down. Well, they don't let me rush the passer. So he's complaining about Sherman. You need to get on Pete Carroll or the defensive coordinator that they don't require that of a guy that's a top-tier corner. Don't be mad at Sherman.
Hey, all I know is I watched a playoff game at Cincinnati. You might remember this. And Darrell took Chad Johnson and just took him out of the game.
Yeah,
it was Revis Island.
Think about this. That game also, Chad wanted to face up against him every single time. That was the whole plan. That was Chad's whole thing. Chad going to a game, hey, I'm going to get wherever Revis at, put me on his side.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? But that's the thing.
You might rethink that now.
Right? But I'm just saying, that was a competitive side. But we got to sit here and stop trying to figure out, well, if he don't travel, he's not the best.
Right.
We just got to look. Hey, if the defense don't, look at the defense and look what the defense is asking him. Like my first couple of years, I never traveled. I didn't travel until I got to the Jets. They didn't ask me to travel.
Right.
Ron Rivera never asked me to travel. Wade Phillips never asked me to travel. Ted Cottrell never asked me to travel. I played the right side corner, and that was it.
And guess what? You got to the AFC Championship game because you were both traveling.
Well, I got to the AFC Championship game when I didn't travel. When I had Sherman, Louis Castillo, Jamal Williams, all those guys, Sharon Phillips, all in front of me. I didn't have to travel. My front four, I could sit back in zone and just pick off everything. But I had to learn how to play man-to-man coverage when I got to New York because we didn't play much man when I was in San Diego. Okay. So I had to do that.
The reason I'm still defending Darrell is Richard started this.
Yes.
And Darrell won't let it go.
Yeah, that was 12. Think about it. That was in 2012. It's 2020.
But clearly something that he does take personally. If he continues to
it does. He does.
Darrell Revis
he takes it personally.
As proud a player as I've ever been around.
No question.
But Skip, people remember that last couple of years.
I got it. He let his body go. Yeah. And you know what? He made so much money so brilliantly because he played the system like nobody's ever played the system, right?
Yes.
Okay.
At the end of the day, we all DBs. Credit gotta get credit when credit is due.
Yeah.
The man is playing within the scheme. The man is doing what he do. And Sherman though, hey man, you his own corner. I don't care what nobody say, but he understands what he's capable of, and he knows what's his liability. He knows his abilities, and he's not going to put himself in a situation where it's not in his favor. Right. And I think that's what makes him a smart corner. He understands what his ability is. I mean, the pick last week versus Minnesota, he was in man-to-man coverage versus Thielen.
Yeah.
So what was that?
He was in man in his zone. You know.
No, it was true man-to-man. If you go back, it was man-to-man.
And he jumped
the route. He got a good press.
Super Bowl right now.
He did.
So, really interesting discussion.
Darrell's not going to be real happy with you now.
I'm not here to make people happy.
Okay, good. I like that.
No mercy.
Well, we all know Patrick Mahomes can win a game with his arm, but it was his 27-yard touchdown run in the final seconds of the first half that turned the tables in the Chiefs' 35-24 win over the Titans. Mahomes dodged several tackles, walked the tightrope along the sideline, and plowed through a few more defenders at the goal line for his longest career touchdown run. Every time I watch it, it's impressive. Shannon, on a scale of 1 to 10, how impressive was the play to you?
It's a 10. Skip, this could be one of his signature plays of his career. Skip, you know, John Elway has the helicopter. Now, obviously, the Super Bowl is bigger than the AFC Championship game, but we get that. But that's his signature run of his career. You know, Steve Young had that run, I think it was the 87 of the divisional against the Vikings. Skip, they needed this. They were down 17-14. And not to say that, who knows, if he doesn't score, maybe they get a field goal in 17-17. And there's a difference in philosophy in Tennessee coming out in the second half. But this was unbelievable because we hadn't seen, we've seen him get first downs. But to not go down and says, I will not be denied on this run.
Nope.
And when he got that touchdown, the crowd, you've been to Kansas City, it's loud. This is outside of Denver, for me, it's the greatest place to play an NFL football game. I love playing there. It's a sea of red, Skip, and everybody is Chiefs every time, all the time. I felt that this play was the momentum swing. And once he scored this touchdown right before the half, there was no way Tennessee Titans was going to win that ball game.
So, in impact, I will give you a 10. On the impressive scale of 1 to 10, I will give you a 4.
Oh, come on.
Because
really?
On the unimpressive scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give the Titans a 10 because
missed tackle.
They just didn't want to tackle him. And I think their body language was, wait a second, we have to chase these little guys all over the field and he's going to run with it? Well, we don't have to do that. We have to do double duty.
Well, you should punish him.
Huh?
You should have punished him.
So it was the dreaded 3-man rush to start with. And I'm saying, what is that about? And Harold Landry, who usually is pretty good, he rushes completely up the field, completely past Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what he was thinking about. Look at that. He's completely out of the play. Rashawn Evans over here is spying him, and Rashawn thinks that Patrick is just going to jog out of bounds. And he gets completely deked, completely fooled because he slows up a little bit, and all of a sudden, Mahomes is gone. And then Mahomes is tiptoeing, and Mahomes says, wait a second, if none of you want to tackle me, I think I'll just keep going. And then it comes down to Tremaine Brock Sr., who they just picked up a month ago from Arizona. He got discarded by Arizona. Yes. And he played like he was on the senior tour. That's where he belongs because he doesn't even try to tackle him. He actually tried to reach for the ball.
He almost got it out, though, Skip.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. He almost got it out. Mahomes bobbled it. Watch it do. Oh, that's the move.
Rashawn Gary.
Skip the move. He looked away. That's a look. No look.
Gary, I think he didn't get the ball out. He didn't get the ball.
Watch this, Skip.
Okay.
I'm gone.
Rashawn Evans is a first-round pick.
Yeah.
He didn't even come close to getting the ball.
He almost voted that.
I think I'll tackle the football because he's a lot bigger than I am, and I don't want to get hurt.
Ooh, look at he outrun the defensive tackle. Bulldoze his way in there. 10, all the judge. Even the check judge gave him a 10.
Oh, you guys don't want to tackle me? I think I'll run to the end zone. Oh, way to go.
Sure you're going with a 4?
Yeah, I'm going with a 4.
Whoa.
Nobody even tried to tackle him. It was the equivalent of Green Bay not tackling Raheem Mostert. They just, for some reason, they didn't feel like tackling.
I remember we did a very similar topic last year. And this will happen to be in the regular season when Tom Brady had a 5-yard run against the very Chiefs for a touchdown. And you said it was very impressive.
Because he never does it before. Patrick Mahomes runs a little bit, but for those who weren't here earlier, he ran a 4.8 40. 4.8. That's getting close to 5 flat. That's getting into Brady territory.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Skip. 4.8 was when you're looking for a job. You're trying to really impress some people. He ain't running 4.8 now. He ain't running no 4.8.
He does not run 4.8. And he looks to me like, and this is not a knock on him, I think he's put on 20 pounds since he got drafted, and that's good because you got a lot of body on him.
Yeah, you got to.
Because you need it. Yes. And it doesn't bother his arm at all. He can still uncork it but he looks 240-ish. No problem with that. But don't tell me he can move. Don't give me any.
Turn the turbos on.
Don't give me 1 mile per hour of Lamar Jackson. Don't give me any of that.
Stop, Skip. This man ain't Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I don't even want to hear any Marcus Mariotas here, right?
Hey, he turned them turbos on. He hit that sideline.
Turbos?
Yeah, he hit the bowls.
He was lumbering.
Hey, he flipped that switch. He had that NOS. He flipped that switch on him.
And then he was
gone,
But
Skip.
I agree with you. I will have to live with seeing that video for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And it may go down as his signature play before this is over. But the Tennessee Titans had a whole lot to do with it. Way to go, Tennessee.
Whoa.
That play should live in infamy in Tennessee.
No, he shouldn't.
Yeah.
It might give him a few nightmares.
Nah, Skip. I mean, Mahomes, he can do it all now.
But he's 24. Like, this is just the beginning.
And about to
for this
get 200 million. Hey, you know what? Clark Hunt going to tell him to go in the room. Hey, give him a blank check. You put the numbers.
I told you $40 million a year the other day, and you said he's not going to get 40.
No. I said 200 million. You say why not 300? We're gonna get 200. We're gonna get 40 million a year.
Yeah.
He win the
Why
Super Bowl,
not?
might be 45.
Yeah. Well, just off that run alone, he should get 40
There you
million.
go.
It's that one run.
Hold on.
That means you're going to see it a lot, Skip.
Yeah.
Jenny.
What?
Now, if you know that was somebody named Dakota Rain Prescott had a run like that, man, we'd have been, run that play again. I want you to put that on the montage. I'm going to put that, like you put all the LeBron low lights in the montage.
You just enjoy bringing up Dak?
Yeah. Dak wish he could.
Do you remember that run Dak made against Seattle in the playoff game? It put the game away, and it was a much better run than this one.
No, stop.
He ran through 3 tacklers who were actually trying to tackle him.
Yeah. The man went 14 yards and he didn't score. He went double the distance and got a tub.
Well, this was second down. That was 3rd and long on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Isn't it
It's okay.
Rain Dakota? I feel like you're saying it backwards,
What is
right?
it? Rain Dakota.
It's Rain Dakota. So, Shannon, get it right if you're going to throw him under the bus. Come on.
That guy right there was
Get the
Patrick
full name
Mahomes.
correctly. Well, guys, Tom Brady had a busy weekend, and he made headlines saying he's open-minded about playing for another team. But it wasn't too long ago when Bill Belichick was reportedly open to moving on from Brady in New England. But as rumor has it, Robert Kraft intervened, and Belichick instead traded backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo away to the 49ers instead. Let's fast forward a few years later, and Jimmy G has the Niners headed to Miami looking for his first Lombardi trophy as a starting quarterback. So, Skip, hypothetically speaking, would the 49ers have a better chance at winning it if Tom Brady was their QB instead of Jimmy G?
If Tom Brady were the quarterback of the 49ers going to this Super Bowl, they would be a 5-point favorite instead of a 1.5-point underdog. You know it, and I know it, because what is the X factor we're about to talk about for the next 2 weeks? What is the potential Achilles heel for the 49ers? Who is the guy that Kyle Shanahan will do his darndest to try to keep the ball out of his hands? It's Jimmy Garoppolo. If Tom Brady were the quarterback, he would be so much more poised because Jimmy can go deer in headlights. He's much more accurate than Jimmy G is. Yep. He's just much more trustworthy under fire, especially in Super Bowls, which Tom Brady has mostly owned. He's 6-3 in Super Bowls. And to me, he's not getting any older. You think he's done, he's over the hill, he's washed up. And here's my final takeaway. If by chance, I'll knock on wood for the 49ers, if Jimmy G becomes the reason by far that they lose this Super Bowl, if he throws 3 picks and just completely unravels and just looks awful in the face of Patrick Mahomes, I would not be shocked if John Lynch, the 49ers GM, if he doesn't in the offseason make a play for Tom Brady, because it has been written several times they could get right out from under Jimmy G without any huge salary cap hit.
You got a situation where you can be good for the next 10 years and you're going to worry about the next 10 months. With
Can
Tom
you
Brady
be good? He
Hold
just
on.
threw 6 complete passes.
Okay, well, this was over the course of a season. Jimmy G was 5th in completion percentage. Tom Brady was 27th. In yards per attempt, Jimmy G was 3rd. Tom Brady was 27th. In QBR, the stat that Skip Bayless loves, it measures 0 to 150 being average. Jimmy G was 12th. Tom Brady was 19th. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but in San Francisco, Jenny, they run what we call the West Coast offense. And let me give you a few names that have played in the West Coast offense. You may have heard of them. Montana, Young, Elway, Favre, Rodgers, McNabb, Mahomes, Jimmy G, Jeff Garcia. What does all those guys have in common that Tom Brady can't do? Move. If you play the West Coast offense, bootlegs, play action, nakeds, waggles is a big staple of what they do offensively. When was the last time Tom Brady been able to move like any of those guys I mentioned? Never, never, ever. So in other words, to make a long story short, Jenny, no, they would not be better without Tom.
Who won last year's Super Bowl? Help me out. Tom Brady did.
So we don't do that. Hold on. What last year did? Who won last year's Oscar? Is he going to win it this year?
Wait a second. The Hall of Fame tight end, Shannon Sharpe, tells me that George Kittle is the best tight end in football. Did Tom Brady have that guy this year? He did not have that guy.
Guess who he had? He had a guy that made the all-1 Centennial team in Rob Gronkowski and put a 26 QBR in the Super Bowl last year.
And won it with a game-winning drive. His sixth Super Bowl victory.
He had a guy that many say is the greatest tight end of all time and had 0 touchdowns with an interception.
And guess what? His coach could have had Emmanuel Sanders for him, but instead he went to Mohamed Sanu, who was a complete, according to Shannon Sharpe, bust this year. Tom Brady was throwing to nobody with no protection and no run game, and if you put him behind that line with that kind of run game, he'd be happy to complete maybe 10 or 12 balls a game, and they would be lethal.
No, he wouldn't.
Lethal.
Jimmy G is the guy, because they said, you know what, we got 10 years of this, or we want 10 months of this. So we're going to take the 10 years and keep it moving.
Well,
but know your guy. Get those 3 guys from Dorchester. The guy that everybody been saying, I know a guy that been saying this for years. Tom Brady does more with less than anybody. Now that he can't do it, he needs more.
Well, I want to see him with those 3 guys for the LA Chargers because Phillip Rivers just uprooted his family because it looks like he's pretty much done with the Chargers.
Hell, the LA fans wonder why he didn't do that 2 years ago. Did you see all those turnovers he been creating?
Yeah.
Not a great
Tom Brady, hottest free agent in the history of pro football. Here we go.
No, actually, that would be Deion Sanders.
That would be Tom Brady.
No, not Tom Brady. You're about to be at 21.
Yeah. Make anything of him in Vegas? Saying hi to some people? Do you make anything
go
of
to
it?
Vegas. Go to Vegas.
You mean to play for the Raiders? For John Gruden? No.
Why not?
No, it will not happen.
Like
I promise you, it will not happen.
Jimmy G is the better quarterback at this time.
He is not.
He would be better for the 49ers moving forward.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Very foreseeable.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
This one, always a good discussion around here. LeBron dropped 31 points in a big win against the Rockets on Saturday night, and now the Lakers will play the second game of their 5-game road trip against the Boston Celtics tonight. And good news for the Purple and Gold, Anthony Davis is expected to return tonight after missing the last 5 games. So, Shannon, what do you expect from LeBron and AD and the Lakers tonight?
Tell the whole story, Jenny. He dropped 31, 12, and 5.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess ain't nobody talked about it. I had the only TV that was working on Saturday night.
Really?
Because ain't nobody on Twitter want to talk about what they saw LeBron do.
I did talk about it.
Yeah, you didn't want to talk about it.
I gave LeBron props. I thought he controlled the whole basketball game, mostly because James Harden was completely out of it because he got frustrated by the non-calls.
There was no call.
Yeah.
And so, but you know, this Bron going back to Boston. You know what Bron does in Boston, Skip, right? Game 6, you remember? You remember that virtuoso?
Sure.
So I expect that. And we got our sidekick.
I remember some meltdowns, too.
Don't do that, Skip. Don't do that.
Yep.
So I expect us to continue our winning ways.
Well, at least AD doesn't have to worry about going to Miami to the Super Bowl to root for his Packers, right? His Packers. I think LeBron will love having AD back tonight. I think Kyle Kuzma will not love having AD back tonight because he goes back to being the third wheel.
Yep.
And it just doesn't seem like it fits. It feels like Kyle Kuzma is going to be traded because he does not work for this team.
The thing is, Skip, if Kuzma could be consistent, we saw what he did against Houston. We saw what he did the 2 games before, but then we also saw Orlando. And that's what's concerning about the Lakers because you can't have inconsistency. You need that third score come playoff time because this is what this is about. Yeah, they can win 50 games, 60 games, whatever. But it comes down to the playoffs and having a consistent guy that you can count on to give you 18 to 20. And then they're not sure they can get that from Kyle.
All I know is that suddenly this whole NBA season has come down to just two teams, and they both play at Staples. And the clutchest 23 at Staples plays for the Clippers.
Lou. I'm trying to figure out what.
Sweet Lou.
Hold on. Did they? I know the Clippers ain't just give up 80 at the half. 80 points in a half.
And they're a better defensive team than the Lakers.
And Beverly locked down, got a triple dub put on it.
Share the same home.
Lonzo Ball put a triple dub on Panther.
Thanks for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Jenny Taft. Join us again at the same time tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern. We'll see you then.
Fox Sports, one of one.